Hello and welcome back to round 3 here at the Portland, Oregon Regional Championships. On your left, you've got Charlie Nguyen, and on your right, you've got Royce Mapes. Charlie is a local player who I've known for a long time, but who I'm not sure has really broken out on the national or world level scene. I don't think he's qualified for Worlds yet, and he's kind of taken a break from the game, or at least been involved in the game more some years, less some other years. And on your right, you have Royce Mapes, who some of you might know the name. He is a YouTube content creator for the Pokemon TGC. If you want to check out his channel, go ahead and go to youtube.com/RoyoBoyPTCG. It's a Pokemon the trading card game. He makes some pretty good content on there, always trying out new decks and building some wacky stuff, opening packs, stuff like that. Similar to what we do. I think Royce and I were probably going to be collaborating on a few things, so if you want to subscribe to both of those channels, that would be pretty awesome. As always, On the Bubble is brought to you by Top Cut Central. Check out topcutcentral.com for singles, sealed product, sleeves, accessories, whatever you need, they've got it. If you're local to the Chicago area, there's multiple Top Cut Central locations, stores and tournaments and all that, so please check it out, topcutcentral.com. And it looks like Royce is playing an Eevee deck of some sort. Players getting set up. There's a Mew, and there's an Eevee on the bench. Royce going first. Charlie opening with a Keldeo and a Bronzor Dimensional Valley from Royce. And a Juniper, or sorry, Professor Sycamore rather. Oh, it looks like Royce is going to be playing Night March. So Night March, for those of you who aren't aware, is basically an aggressive deck that uses Pokemon that have the attack Night March, of which there are several, and uses a Mew usually to copy that attack, and Night March always does damage based on the number of Pokemon with Night March you have in your discard pile. The most famous one of these is Pumpkaboo. He does Night March for 20 times the number of Pokemon that have Night March in your discard pile. Takes 3 energy. There's other Pokemon who do different damage, different energy costs, etc. And they usually use Mew to attack with it, or to actually use the attacks, because it's a little bit higher HP. Looks like Royce missed energy on turn 1, which is a pretty big deal to him. He did get a Battle Compressor, which is one of the major cards in the archetype, lets you dump a bunch of Night Marchers into the discard pile and get rolling, but missing energy is a pretty big deal. Playing Night March here is pretty brave. It's really soft versus Seismitoad. You really need items to get things going, and if Seismitoad can lock you out of items, lock you out of energy sometimes, it can be pretty tough. Charlie's deck I'm less familiar with. Looks like a metal, kind of the Bronzong archetype. Bronzong is similar to the old Electric. It lets you attach metal energy from your discard pile to your benched Pokemon. And lets you kind of accelerate there. We have Dialga to attack. You have Aegislash to attack sometimes. You have some other wacky stuff depending on your list. But both of these players playing unconventional decks, although both are also popular and known. But at 2-0, so what can you say? It's important to note that although Royce did miss an energy drop, he does have that Dimension Valley, so it'll reduce the cost down to 2 for Pumpkaboo. And it looks like Charlie's taking a minute to read those cards. Night March is a deck that's been popular in the community. It's done well at some tournaments, but for someone like Charlie, who I assume hasn't doesn't test against the whole gauntlet, hasn't been paying attention too much to the decks, you're definitely gonna take some time to read these cards. Again, both of these decks not exactly conventional, but not exactly rogue either. Looks like a float stone on that Keldeo. There's the Dialga. Promotes a Bronzor and passes. Charlie probably assuming that something is getting knocked out this turn, and he'd rather it be his third kind of extra Bronzor, if you will, although you'll take as many as you can get. Rather have that knocked out than Keldeo or another two prize Pokemon. It'll be interesting to see whether Charlie runs Lysander's Trump card. One of the best cards against the Night March deck, basically completely invalidating its strategy, putting all the cards from its discard pile back in its owner's deck, and then from there you basically have to start all over again. You know, every Ultra Ball, every Battle Compressor, whatever, you have to get those cards back in the discard pile. And I personally witnessed someone play 3 Lysander's Trump cards versus a Night March deck via Versus Seeker. And that's not a great place to be if you're the Night March player. And there's the double colorless, so Royce will be able to attack this turn with Night March. Dumping a bunch of them into the discard pile. And taking a knockout. Night March is a very linear deck. It's one of the decks that can really come out of the gates and, you know, play about, as we saw Royce do, play a Battle Compressor, play a Computer Search, and do a bunch of damage right off the bat. And I would say it's a kind of a fragile deck. You know, again, Lysander's Trump card, Seismitoad. Toad. There's a lot of cards that can be, if not totally dismantle it, at least, you know, put it back quite a bit. But if it gets the right start, it can be incredibly powerful as well. And player's going to go ahead and resolve an N. Royce drawing 5 cards, Charlie drawing 6. And there's a Kabalion from Charlie's side. Judge Seth Cooper trying to get Royce to be able to, helping us out a little bit, so trying to get Royce to display his Night March Pokemon a little bit better so that we can count him up. Looks like he's got 5. currently. Which means Night March is doing 100 damage at the moment. There's a Joltik. Grass energy on the Mew. Looks like he's considering playing a Bicycle. And there's an Ultra Ball. Jumping in, not dumping a Night March, they're just dumping an Eevee. Royce played the Joltik because he wanted to draw more cards off of the Bicycle. Getting a Lampent. Taking a look through his discard pile. And there's a Sycamore, 6 Night Marchers, 120 damage. Ooh, so he's going to add some more Night Marchers. And just going up to 7, doing 140 damage with, for 2 energy with the Mew with not many board commitments. You got to have a lot of discard pile commitments. You have to have discard outlets, of course, but don't have to stack much on the board. And that's one of the advantages of this deck. Again, very linear, but very aggressive and very powerful if it gets set up. If it's not stopped, it can. I've seen the deck lose to multiple Lysander trump cards in a row. I've also seen the deck, drop 7 Pokemon, 8 Pokemon in their discard pile on turn 2 or 3 and just steamroll the game from there. So very draw dependent and very dependent on keeping those Pokemon in the discard pile. Unfortunately for Royce, Aegislash's ability prevents all damage done to Aegislash by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have special energy attached to it, which is going to be hard for Royce to deal with here. Royce is going to have to attack with that with the Mew with the 1 energy on it. He can now copy Joltik's Night March. It still does 20, so not in this turn it's not really setting him back a whole lot, but in general it is going to be something to play around, which is why Charlie promoted it. And 140 damage on that Aegislash. Looks like its attack shield slash blast is doing 120 at the moment with the muscle band, so that will be enough to knock out that Mew. Not sure how many basic energy that Royce runs, but he's going to need to find at least 1 more to take this knockout, and then hopefully he doesn't have to deal with Aegislash for a few more turns. And as you can see, what's going to happen here if Royce gets a knockout is, yes, Charlie's going to lose a bunch of energy, he's going to lose an EX Pokemon, but Charlie's going to be able to promote that Keldeo and use Bronzong's ability to bring back 1 metal at least, and if he can find the other Bronzong to evolve, he's going to be able to attach 2 metal from his discard pile, and it's really reminiscent of the old electric deck, just being able to repower up your board in a turn or 2, be able to cheat energies into play. Just an incredible ability. We talked a little bit earlier about how doing damage without requiring an attack or energy has been big in the game, and as long as I've been playing the game, energy acceleration has been equally as powerful. Whether it's electric, whether it's things even like energy gain was a tool from the SP format. The major opponent or the major Pokemon's attacks cost 1 less. That's a form of energy acceleration. You have Bronzong now. You have Blastoise, maybe the most famous one in the recent times. Just any time that you can do things you're not really supposed to do, whether it's draw extra cards, whether it's deal damage without attacking, whether it's attach more than 1 energy per turn, whenever you can kind of break the rules of the game, you know you're doing something pretty powerful. And that Plasma Leafeon that Royce has is going to prove to be pretty good against Charlie's deck, I believe. Charlie's deck is all about energy acceleration, and Leafeon punishes you for attaching multiple energies. So currently, looks like 2, 4, 6, 80 damage dealt to that Aegislash. Royce going down to 3 prizes. And like we talked about, here's the Keldeo promotion. Keldeo has that float stone on it, so it's basically free to promote. And there's the second Bronzong, like we talked about. There's all of the Bronzong attachments. There's a muscle band. And there is the Full Metal Impact for 150 and the Knockout. And now Royce is going to be able to knock him out right back. He has currently 8 Pokemon in the discard pile with Night March, it looks like. It's 160 plus the Silver Bangle will be a knockout on that Dialga. Another powerful aspect of the Night March decks is their ability to attack with non-EX Pokemon. Like I said, Mew is your main attacker because it has a little bit more HP, kind of more where you want to be, but against some decks you just want to, leave this Joltik up, use my Joltik to knock out a Dialga, basically. If you knock out my Joltik, that's fine. You take 1 prize, I took 2, and it, given enough turns, exchanging 1 prize for 2 is going to win you the game. And there's a Sycamore. And there's the knockout, 2 more prizes. Oh, Megaphone, strong play from Charlie there. It's going to be able to take off the Muscle Band and the Silver Bangle. The unfortunate thing here is that Charlie is going to most likely knock out a Pokemon with Night March, which means the count will go up to 9. Which will be 180 damage, which will be enough to basically knock out anything. And with Royce only needing 1 prize left, it's going to be a tough game. Royce could miss energy. That's one thing that's definitely a possibility. There's a few other possibilities. And here comes a Steel Bullet. Charlie doing a triple check of his discard pile. Oh, and looks like Royce drew the DCE. off the top, and that should do it. And that is the game. Royce Mapes with his Night March deck takes game one, a pretty long game one over Charlie Nguyen. Charlie, I mean, he got everything set up. I think that Royce just got that classic Night March start of just being able to exchange prizes and do big damage. So Charlie's definitely going to be hoping to be able to slow that down a little bit. I don't know if he plays Trump card. If he does play it, he never drew at that game. I would doubt that he does play it. I don't know what his list exactly looks like, but you do want to keep Metal Energy in the deck, or sorry, in the discard pile for the Metal Links. So this might prove to be a tough matchup for Charlie. The players shuffling up. And looking at the pairings from this round, let's see if we have anything interesting. Looks like Paul Johnston drew his last round versus Alan Nguyen, Charlie's brother, actually, who I'm sure you'll see on stream at some point this weekend. Jacob Van Wagner has to play Serena Redu. Both of that 2-0, both of them hoping to make a strong run. Serena just needs the top 8 to steal up her invite, I believe. So Joey Gaffney at 0-2. Joey Gaffney is usually a pretty strong competitor at this level of events, and going 0-2 definitely not where he expected to be or anyone else expected him to be, but he can still make the comeback. Chase Maloney sitting at 2-0, trying to win another regionals this year. Tyler Ninamura sitting at 1-1. Trevor Reed also sitting at 2-0, playing 2014 Washington State champion Nathan Beck. So a lot of good players at 2-0. Some of them at 1-1. Some of them at 0-2 even, but it seems like there's going to be a lot. This round seems like it's going to be pretty deciding for a lot of players. You know, Trevor Reed, Nathan Beck, Jacob Van Wagner, Serena Redu. Some definitely players who can win this tournament who are going to be not eliminated. None of them will be eliminated, but will be on the back foot after this round. Charlie with a Battle Compressor, getting back, discarding 2 Metal Energies and a Pokemon Fan Club, playing a Versus Seeker to get back to Pokemon Fan Club, so kind of a cute little play there. And I imagine this Fan Club will either get 2 Bronzors or get a Bronzor and an Aegislash. Despite the way that last game went, Aegislash is still a very strong threat. You have to make your opponent have the basic energy. They do run some, as you saw. Royce is running the Grass Energy for for Leafeon, and to have an out versus Aegislash, but you have to make them have it. You know, they're mostly subsiding on DCEs, so if you can, you know, you're not going to win the game from an Aegislash, but if you can get yourself in a position where you're taking 2 or 3 prizes, putting them back a few turns, it's definitely where you want to be. And there's a double colorless on the Pumpkaboo, and Battle Compressor comes here. Unfortunately, Charlie had to leave the Bronzor active. I think if Charlie had a choice, he maybe would have liked to promote that Aegislash. Even though that is his main attacker, he wants to keep the Bronzors alive because they're the engine of his deck. So if this one gets knocked out, it will be unfortunate for him. He obviously has 2 more in the deck, but being able to evolve in the double evolve in the double Bronzong next turn is quite a powerful play. 3 Night March in the discard pile. And there's an N. Royce with the signature Royce Mapes cut of top card to the bottom. Ooh, and just a pass of the turn for Royce. Like another Pokemon fan club, getting a Keldeo and a Bronzor from Charlie. Now he feels a little bit better having 2 Bronzor on the bench to possibly sacrifice that active one. Gotta believe this Ultra Ball is going to get a Bronzong. Or sorry, this is computer search, so actually maybe he won't get a Bronzong. Although, discarding a Sycamore off of it does tell you that he's likely not getting a draw card, or the cards in his hand are so good that he can't discard them. Looks like he got a Float Stone with it, actually. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and attach the Float Stone. Rush in, retreat for free, promote Aegislash, and knockout. And Royce has a draw step. Ooh, looks like he's about to reveal his hand, showing that he had no way to... Okay, there's an end. All right. It's just a little strange body language by Royce there. I thought he was going to show Charlie his hand and say, oh, there's no way I can do anything, you win, which would be quite unfortunate, as Royce really hadn't had a chance to play this game. Like some decisions for Royce again due to the Aegislash's ability. We're able to damage it with that Pumpkaboo with the DCE on it. And is just forced to ship the turn. Does play some things on his bench, getting some things set up, but no more Night Marches in the discard pile, and just passes the turn. Charlie double evolves into Bronzong. Attaches the second metal to the Aegislash. Shield Slash Blast is currently doing 80, and plays a Sycamore. He even hits the Enhanced Hammer off the Sycamore in case Royce just decides to attach a Special Energy for later. Obviously, that card gets less powerful as Royce is kind of priced into not playing Special Energy, but I mean, Charlie can always just save it until Royce is forced to, and then take it away. There's the knockout. 4 Night Marchers in the discard pile. Royce searching up a few more Night Marchers, like a Pumpkaboo and a Lampent, as well as a Joltik with a Battle Compressor. Gonna up the count to 7. There's a Bicycle, Gonna refresh Royce's hand a bit. He did draw the grass to be able to attack with the Leafeon, but it looks like he would, if he, no, yeah, he just has to attack with the Leafeon this turn. Not going to result in a knockout. I believe that Charlie only has 4 energy on the board. So Royce Ultra Balls for Jirachi, Jirachi's for a Sycamore. Definitely not looking, this game, a sharp contrast between this game and game 1. Charlie is fully in the driver's seat. Royce still definitely has a shot, but is playing from behind, trying to find ways to win, and which is kind of goes to show how both of these decks work. If the Night March deck manages to dump a bunch of Night Marchers in the discard pile and start attacking turn 2 or 3, it's going to be hard to beat. And if the Metal deck gets what it needs, gets the Bronzongs, and even Charlie didn't even really have the Bronzongs this turn until just now. He had the Aegislash, which is really what is setting Royce back. There's the Dimension Valley for Royce. $80 damage, and Charlie starts his turn. Ultra Ball. Discarding a Metal and an Enhanced Hammer. Putting that Metal exactly where Charlie would like it. There's the third Bronzong, and I think 2 Bronzongs is fine. It's letting you accelerate 2 energy a turn for a total of 3. But 3 Bronzongs, I think, is really where you feel safe and like you feel like your deck is comboing off, so to speak. Being able to buy an energy attachment from your hand and the Bronzongs, attach 4 energy to Pokemon, which is what Charlie's doing right now, which is so incredibly powerful. And there's the knockout. Charlie going to the 3 prizes. This is as we talked about last game, this is the thing that can really help Royce out, though, is that Charlie is taking 1 prize every turn. And if Royce can kind of even up the exchange, take a 2 EX knockouts, maybe let Charlie only have 1 normal non-EX knockout, it's just going to be difficult. Royce is definitely on the back foot, though. He's already a little bit behind in the race, and having to attach the DCE to that Joltik is going to set him even further behind, as that's not going to be able to attack the Aegislash next turn, so he's going to have to find another attacker. But that is kind of how this deck operates. There's the Mew. And there's an N from Royce. One thing that I like to talk about a lot while streaming is, playing to your outs. That's a poker term that basically means that you have to determine how you're going to win the game and then expect that it will happen and form your plays around that happening. So, for instance, Royce is playing to his outs by playing the N. Even if there's a 1% chance that he wins, he is doing everything that he needs to do, which there's a higher than 1% chance for sure, but even if there's a 1% chance, even if it's less than 1%, he is doing everything he needs to do to put himself in a position where he can win. This comes up in Pokemon a lot when you consider, okay, I can attack with Pokemon A and deal some damage, but then he's going to knock it out and I'm going to have no energy. Or I can attack with Pokemon B and wait and hope to draw an energy next turn, and then I'll be able to win the game. Or if I draw a Juniper next turn, I can draw Energy, Laser, Verbank. And regardless of how unlikely it is that you can win, you have to play to your outs, to give yourself a chance to win. And so in that situation, if you attack with Pokemon A, yeah, you're doing some damage, but you don't actually have a path to victory because you're just going to get knocked out next turn. But if you go with option B, yes, you are very unlikely to win, but you have a path. You have a reason that you have something that actually tells you can get there if A, B, and C happens. Maybe 1% that A happens, 2% that B happens, and 0.001% that C happens, but you have to kind of hope that happens and put yourself in a position where you can capitalize on that if it does happen. Looks like a computer search for Royce. Trying to make sure all the Night Marchers are clearly displayed in his discard pile. Getting a double colorless.